Welcome to Gears Overdrive. My name is Keith Clark. I'm the technical director for ATRA and glad to have you here. We're going to be talking today. We've got Jimmy Taylor in the studio, and he's going to be talking about his December 2025 article, Do You Know How Fast You Were Going? Do you know how fast you were going? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What is this all about here, Jimmy?
Well, it's a bit about the evolution of vehicle speed systems, where we come from a mechanical origin to now fully electronic. And we have moved out of watching the transmission output speed as a source for vehicle speed to now using wheel speed sensors.
Okay, so we went from basically mechanical to electronic. What's the whole idea behind it? What's the advantages of doing something like that?
Well, one, everything's computer controlled, so you have to have a electrical signal, a in this case digital or analog that's converted to digital, but you have to have an electrical signal for the computer to read. So as we moved, transition from a mechanical side to electrical side, there was, still on these older models, you would have a cable driven by a gear. It would go up into the cluster, and there would be a little light sensor that watches spinning wheel.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So basically, it kind of eliminates the complexity of all those little mechanical things and getting into the electrical conversion and the dashboard area. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's great. That's all well and good. Because again, I think about the old school days where you're just looking at mechanical stuff as being the most reliable way of doing things, like a good old throttle cable connected to the throttle body. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't get any more simple than that.
Until your gear strip or your cable seizes up.
Exactly. So with this advance, of course, there was other technology involved with this as well. What did the advent of using electrical speed sensing devices do for the rest of the automotive control system? Okay.
So not only is the transmission using this or the transmission computer using this to, govern shift points, and to some extent, a little bit about pressure, so you may want lower pressure at a lower speed, higher pressure at a lower speed because you're using more torque, developing more torque, and then the higher speeds, you can back off that pressure. ABS obviously needs to know how fast the wheels are going. If a wheels prematurely stops faster than the others, it needs to be able to pump that and equalize that rotation. Mm-hmm. Steering controls. You got a steering angle sensor that if it says you're going straight, 0 degrees, and you got a wheel speed sensor that's going slightly slower, well, they don't correlate, so it may, throw steering angle faults, traction control faults, things like that. And then we've incorporated also the radio. Faster you go, the more volume you need on the radio. They'll auto adjust. They've been doing that for several decades now.
Wow, overcome the
windshield wipers. If you're an intermittent, when you're sitting stationary or at slow speed, it's a light and mist. You don't need rapid fluctuation of that arm. But when you're driving faster, you're going to be hitting more rain.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've incorporated speed signals into many different things.
Okay, there's a lot of technology that's connected to this. Okay, man, when you think about it, it's like a simple speed sensor, just basic information, but of course, technology builds on the simplicity and then makes things more complex. Just taking a half step back, I see that Toyota is one of the pioneers of this technology, utilizing this technology.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how Toyota uses it.
Okay. So, and they're not alone in this aspect. Nissan also come out with a system, right about the same time. I chose Toyota because the information is, freely available, easy to understand, and it applied across so many different models of Toyotas. So it's, chances are somebody's run across this. So the basic layout of this You have 4 wheel speed sensors. They're all connected to the ABS, or as Toyota calls it, the skid control unit. And it's monitoring those wheel speeds. It sends that signal to the instrument cluster or combination meter.
Wow.
Now, that cluster will do the calculation for vehicle speed. All it's seeing is pulsation. So I got a wheel that's turning so many times, RPMs a minute. I see so many pulses coming off those tone wheels. And it knows what tire size is, what gear, and how many pulses per mile. And so it's going to do a calculation on speed. Now, from the transmission, we still have an output sensor. You need that sensor to determine gear ratios, monitoring gears to make sure that the transmission is not slipping or so. But it's also used as a backup signal. So here's my reference source. You got your 4 wheels coming in, and I can do a calculation to verify that my wheel speeds are, accurate.
Okay. So sort of like redundancy, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, yeah, the redundancy is something that's, I think, necessary now as far as when you get electronic devices.
Absolutely.
Because drive-by-wire and...
As I mentioned on that, we have, there's never going to be a single sensor driving a single motor on anything that's critical function, like a throttle or brake. You need to have multiple signals, because if your only voice is wrong, you have nothing to compare that against.
Okay.
So you get 2 or 3 signals in there, and they're all singing as a chorus. Okay, all good. But one sings out of tune. All right, something's wrong here.
Okay, now with that said, that leads to, kind of a complex hodgepodge of calculations that are being made. Say, for instance, if a sensor or a wheel speed sensor goes bad, or the transmission output speed sensor goes bad, what is our checks and balances that, keeps us from, generating false codes, if you will?
Okay. So on, sticking with our Toyota example, as I said, when it takes that output speed sensor and uses that as the measuring stick, so to speak, with the signals coming off the wheels, when it doesn't calculate right, so I know what my gear ratio is, my final drive ratio, and I should, let's say, I should have 2,000 RPM at, given speed, and my wheels, when I calculate those out, I should have so many rotations per mile and how quickly we're covering those rotations. Doing that math, when they don't calculate right, typically you're going to see a P0500, vehicle speed sensor fault. That's not exactly accurate. In many cases, it's telling you the math did not work out between these 2 sources. Now, it's easy to jump on that output speed sensor, especially on these front-wheel drive Toyotas. It's right there, easy to get to. One bolt, undisconnected, and it's changed, and you're back to the same problem you started with, because it's seldom that sensor.
Yeah, and in my early ages of diagnosing, I fell prey to that. As a matter of fact, it's like, okay, it says output speed. Okay, it has to be the output speed sensor.
And one thing you might look at that is, okay, if it is the output speed sensor, do you have any gear ratio faults?
Okay.
Because we're using input speed and output speed to determine if the transmission went into second gear, third gear, whatever. If you don't have any gear ratio faults, there's a good chance that sensor is correct. And you could watch it on a scan tool.
Okay.
So you can see output speed RPM. Verify it's there.
Wow. And we're just talking about Toyota here. So it sounds like it's imperative that we have an understanding of how that vehicle speed parameter is generated and what's all involved in getting that correct parameter.
Right. So we're just talking Toyota. Nissan is very, very similar system. Mercedes is using it as well. Also, everybody's using it now. I think about 2013, 2014, everybody's using some version of this. I do know the trucks, so your, F-Series Rams and GMs are not using wheel speed sensors, to determine that vehicle speed. They still are using transmission output speed.
Now, you mentioned all of this, and I, of course, come up with a question in my mind, and, diagnosticians that are in the field, it's like, okay, with all of this redundancy and everything and such reliance on the wheel speed sensors,
Yep.
it seems like the ABS would be like the tattletale. How come, and I, my experience says, I don't hardly see ABS code saying wheel speed sensor right front is bad. I've got
Not
to look
unless
for
the
it.
wires have been ripped out. It
Yeah.
seems like it's the only time they'll set that.
Okay.
Occasionally you'll get something come in that says, signal implausible or signal missing. But the primarily reason that you're not going to see a wheel speed fault where you will get that PO 500 is the time that it takes for a code to set. So when it's every code has a window of that it has to exceed before that code will set. So some are very short, some are instantaneous, some are very long. In the case of the Toyotas, Nissans, Lexus, on a wheel speed sensor, you have up to 4 seconds before a fault is triggered. And the reason for that is if you're running down a rough road and the tire's bouncing up and down,
Oh, yeah.
it will generate a signal. It'll be an erratic signal. So rather than constantly lighting up your ABS light, every time you go down, the washboard road, they'll give that 4-second pause. And generally, you're going to, get out into a smoother road. That signal will be more accurate again. Meanwhile, the computer running the transmission, getting that data off of the cluster, it may see that vehicle speed has changed. And maybe we accelerated. So we'll upshift a little quicker, or maybe we decelerated, we'll downshift suddenly.
Okay.
So you can get reactions off the transmission without any codes being set.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And that's where you got to use different ways of diagnosing to actually see where the problem is.
Yeah.
That's where I would assume.
Find new pavement.
Yeah. Yeah. Try finding that in San Antonio, right? Wow. Now, you also mentioned the human factor. Okay, when we're dealing with vehicle speed sensor related issues, tell us a little bit about how human intervention can create some madness.
One big thing is when we change tire sizes.
Oh, yes.
We go up or down. And so tire sizes are, when the vehicle leaves the factory, there is a range of tires that have been certified, tire sizes. And if you are above or below that, you can't put that tire size in without causing a fault. These later model vehicles, so if you got a 35-inch tire on your truck and you put in that tire size, they'll actually throw codes to where in the PCM on a Ford, it'll throw a configuration fault. And you have to program that computer again with the correct tire size. You have to reprogram that PCM because it will not clear that code out.
Oh, wow.
But if you don't put the tire size in, so now we got tall tires. And a real common call we get on the hotline was Jeep Wranglers with 35-inch tires. They could be the 6-speed, the NAG1, or the 42 RLE. And it's just a problem with them downshifting and, really late upshifts and falling out of overdrive, or even converter clutch codes.
Wow.
And it's just because you have this tall tire without changing the differential ratio. So now the engine's running too slow.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That makes sense. Wow. Yeah. Just little innocent things that we think we're doing that shouldn't affect the way
It looks cool, but it don't work.
Yeah, it looks so cool. Now, say for instance, if we're in the shop and we're swapping a transmission, could that come into play with our vehicle speed calculation and give us some VSS related issues?
It could, especially on front wheel drives.
Okay.
If we're not matching the final drive ratio.
Okay. Yes.
So if we change a differential ratio, the output speed sensor is still reading depending on where it's picking up at. Most of these are picking up on what is called a pinion shaft. And if it sees that gear ratio is turning, or the output shaft's turning slower or faster, it's not going to calculate off the wheel speed sensors when it does its comparison.
Yeah, gotcha. Wow. Wow, there's a lot of things that can happen here as far as, when they went from mechanical to electronic, and, electronics kind of give us a hands-off type deal. But yeah, all these different systems that rely on that vehicle speed calculation, they can have an effect on actually what's happening with different faults and different times.
And another thing before we go, but speed matters. So at low speeds, you may not see much of a variance, either from the wheel speeds or just the general calculation that's done. The faster you go, that variance can make a huge difference. So you have a different size, one tire that's different, different sized. It may, not have an effect at, say 30 miles an hour, but at 50 or 60 miles an hour, now its spread is big enough from the other three. Maybe it'll affect the overall vehicle speed by lowering it, or come up as an errant signal if it's consistent.
Wow. Yeah, that brings up a whole lot of new technology coming into play where, say, if you have a tire that's running a little bit low and everything, that could ultimately probably create like a vehicle speed limiting type strategy to invoke so you don't crash.
That they do. Yes, they do.
So again, from the simple transition from mechanical to electronic with the vehicle speed signal, man, it's amazing everything that's attached, and diagnosticians need to know, and they need to do their homework before they get that P0500 in their minds and change a sensor.
Right.
They got to ask the right questions to make sure they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, because there's three components here. The output speed sensor, which goes to, whatever module's controlling the transmission, so PCM, TCM. So you have that combination. You have the wheel speeds and ABS module, and then you have the cluster itself. And we've taken calls on this to where they've changed everything around the cluster and still had the problem. And it turns out it is the cluster that was, just miscalculating.
Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. It's just think that we have to make sure that we have all systems in mind just to make sure that the transmission is going to do its job when it leaves the shop.
Yep. It's one big happy family in a vehicle now. If anybody's discontent, it affects the rest of it, the mood for the whole vehicle. So
there you go. It's a good way to put it there, Jimmy. Listen, it was great having you here, great chatting with you. And we want to thank you again for joining us with our Gears Overdrive. And hopefully next time we'll have somebody else in the studio here to talk to. Until then, hey, it's a great day to fix transmissions. So let's get started.